is Janely Archer, and yes, I am the Family Island Administrator for the beautiful and clean island of Long Island. It's my pleasure to be with the Cable 12 News as they take this week to explore an island that is set aside beside every other island. Long Island is clean. And that's one of the things I love to boast about when it comes to Long Island, the cleanliness of the island. The streets are clean, the roads are hedged on a consistent basis, the schools are kept so well that you can literally have lunch on the grounds of NGM Major High School. And then it's the people, an island where the community comes together for self-help. Mind you, we have our challenges, but like all other islands, we're making the best of our situation. Long Island is the best kept secret. As an island administrator on Long Island, I am the highest government official on the island. And so I work with all the other heads of departments, like the police, and where there's no presence, like a postmaster, I'm the postmaster. A coroner, I'm the coroner. The port department, I'm the port officer. But we work together as department heads for the betterment of the people of Long Island.
Next up, a chat with Long Island's Chief Counsel, Ian Nolles. Mr. Nolles is passionate about the position and his duties, and Long Islanders can tell. Nolles has held this elected position for 22 years. His love for Long Island is obvious as we dive into the shared ethics of the community, their inventive use of resources, and the hardworking nature of its citizens. We also touch on one of the things Long Island is best known for, the influence of boat building and sailing on the island.
It's like a calling. I take it when I first became chief counsel, my grandfather always reminded me, think about the people first. You represent people, not about yourself. So once you take care of the people will take care of you. Long Island people work together, despite we might complain and argue with one another, we work together. In the aftermath of Hurricane Joaquin, I think that was the most, in my life, the connectivity of Long Island is, I never saw so much outpouring of love, giving, affection, helping one another. I told persons if I had died prior to 2015, I would not have seen that side of Long Island. Long Islanders had overwhelming of supplies, overwhelming of material that they even sent stuff to Auckland and Crooked Island. So when it comes to the unite and making things happen, Long Island will get it done. And then we have the Long Island Association. Is one of the strongest associations you have in this country by far. They help with things in Long Island. They don't talk it all the time. They do things behind the scenes. Well, I used to tell people all the story. I come from my parents right across the road live in Mangrove Bush. Was my father Lauren knows and my mother Lilith. They call her Sue. That's what you say our brother's name, Susan Chase. All the young fellas who learn how to build boat and sail, 90% of them learn right in this. They call the sound. We look out here in the water now, and so it still continues today. We have the Markno Junior Sailing Club. We got to learn. Our father and grandfather them didn't want to take us on the boat as little boys because we caused them to lose the regatta, caused them to lose the race. And so the ironic thing is my grandfather told my brother Mark, I think he's around between 12 and 14 years old, boy, come over, let me teach you how to build a boat. So he taught him how to build a boat. And from then he's been building from, I think it's around age 14, and he's 62 now. And he's the premier boat building in the Bahamas. Just need to give kids an opportunity. You got to teach them. You can't wait until you get too old and you can't teach them. So now they have the junior who go about teaching everybody. So in our boat, we have a lot of our crew now are younger ones. Because when we were small, we couldn't get on a boat. The ironic thing, we bought a boat from a guy in Exumas. His name is Luke's Lady. And a year after we bought it, they banned the boat. So you can't sail no more in the regattas. So me and my brother said, all right, well, we could take the boat, and we gave it to my brother and our cousins. We call it the B-52 bomber then. Because that's when they had that war in Iraq. And the voices come out in the sound there, and I think about 10 of them now are captains. By using that boat, that propelled them to be captains because they sink the boat, bail it out, sink it again, bail it out, and they got to learn how to sail. One of the premier sailors now is Stephen Nolles, is my younger brother. He taught right in the sound of that same boat. So they giving the children all an opportunity now to come out and learn how to sail because it could take you in limitless places you could go by sailing. Our first gold medal was in sailing in the Bahamas. That's before we became an independent nation.
Next up, we're guided by Leonard Cartwright as we explore a natural historical landmark once inhabited by the native Lucayans and later Long Island's European settlers. All right, so we're here at Hamilton's Cave with Mr. Leonard Cartwright. Can you tell us what we're going to expect when we go inside?
Oh, you're gonna see stalactites and stalagmites, bats.
And what's so special about these caves?
Well, these were used by the Lucayans and plus from our ancestors too. Like hurricane shelter.
Awesome, can't wait. Let's go do it.
And these supposed to be the largest caves in the Bahamas that have been discovered so far. That is dry caves, eh?
Right.
They have much larger water caves. And according to the scientists, these were formed by the ocean. The ocean was up this high and eroded it out. They believe the water receded about 15,000 years ago. And what we have mapped out is over 3,000 feet. But we're going to go as far as, for the tour, we only go as far as we could walk safely. And this is where the Lucayans lived before Columbus came. Well, they used them, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We found a lot of artifacts, like the ceremonial chairs, what they call doors, and pottery, animal bones, and parts of the zemi, and all that stuff. Right, lately I've found a few more pieces right here from the Lucayans. You know, they came from South America,
Right.
from down around the Orinoco River area. They settled here around 500 AD, all right? And these are some of the fragments of pottery here that I saved, what I found recently. But a lot of this stuff is in the museum, all right? You could see the white particles through it. They said it's to crush the conch shell and mix it to clay to make it stronger.
Wow.
All right? And here are some bones from some of the animals they ate, along with other animals, you know. They ate the iguana. These are from the iguana. And the agouti. You heard about the agouti? Agouti is like a large rodent. They ate those along with other animals, I guess, like the turtle. And we have 5 species of bats that live here. We got the, what they call the waterhouse leaf nose, the buffy flower bat, the Mexican free-tail, and a big brown bat, and another little tiny one called the brown nattles. Tiny little thing.
Now, I've noticed that it's, we've got very red soil going on here. Can you explain where that's coming from?
Well, according to the scientists, this flowed here from Africa, from the jet stream. Well, all the hills are full of it. All the valleys are full of this stuff. Very good for most anything, that is. But mostly for pineapples. Long as you can get some water in it, yeah, it'll grow stuff. Now, all the caves here, this is limestone, all right? This was formed by the ocean probably millions of years ago.
After our overview of the history of the cave came the adventurous part. Just a few seconds into the cave, we were greeted by bats, leaving a trail of what may have been taken for small pebbles, but...
You see this stuff? See this is what the buffy flower brings in. But this white stuff, that's the seeds from the Dolan plum.
Wow.
And the scorns. See the little from the flowers.
And if the trail wasn't enough to make us aware of their presence...
That's the buffy flower bat. And one pooped on me.
There's never a dull moment in the caves. From the marvels of nature's sculptures and the stalactites and stalagmites formed over hundreds of years, one drop at a time, to the beautiful man-made carvings you can spot throughout the journey. Moving further into the cave, we saw handwritten names on the limestone rocks, dating from as early as 1865. The presence of a freshwater hole only further explains why the cave became such an obvious shelter choice for early European settlers. Overall, a visit to Hamilton's Caves is a must-do for any lover of history, archaeology, and adventure, and was one of my favorite Long Island experiences. Now we set sail for our next stop of the tour, and probably the most recognizable, Dean's Blue Hole. After navigating a path road through Turtle Cove and the small sighting of wild hogs, we finally arrive at the breathtaking Dean's Blue Hole. Our tour guide Chuck Fox gives us an overview of the iconic landmark and why he has decided to partake in the tour industry.
Okay, I'm Chuck Fox. My company is 4Ks Adventure Tours and Rentals, and we offer taxi services and tours, land tours throughout the island. I grew up on Long Island, and I've always been the exploring type. I love the beautiful scenery. As you can see, it's very beautiful. I love going in the bush. Growing up, we used to do all sorts of activities, cave activities and all that stuff. So eventually I said, I'm a proud Long Islander. I love my island, and I wanted to showcase it to the visitors. I wanted to share that with them, the beauty and the history and all that different stuff. But we're at the world famous Dean's Blue Hole, and it's known all around the world. It's the third deepest blue hole right now, underwater blue hole. It's at 660 feet deep, and it's a very, very popular attraction. As you can see, it's very beautiful, and it's just majestic, and I love it.
We asked Mr. Fox for his recommendations of the must-sees in Long Island.
Well, number one is here, Dean's Blue Hole. But in the north, you have the Columbus Point, Columbus Monument, which is a very nice place. And then you have, in the Bight, there's the Shrimp Hole. It's an inland cave with water, salt water, and has shrimp inside. We have the churches, the Twin Tower churches in Clarencetown. We have some flamingos. Of course, the beaches itself is one of the most attractive attractions on the island.
Our next stop, one I couldn't wait to get to since spotting it from the car on the day we arrived, the Long Island Museum. Operated by the AMMC, the museum is, in my opinion, one of the best and most extensive museums I've seen in the country. Natasha Nolles and Sheena Cartwright took some time to give us an overview of the museum and an in-depth tour showing the largest collection of artifacts from the early settlers of the island and Bahamas at large that I've ever seen.
The Long Island Museum is the principal historic heritage conservation and preservation agency here on the island. And basically since 2002, we've become a staple here on Long Island. And the museum itself, the collection, the funding, and the time that was incorporated into this little gem, this magnificent edifice that you see here today, is all thanks to the people of Long Island.
Museum handler Natasha's passion for her work is obvious as she speaks to us about future plans for the museum. Most important to her is spreading the word that Bahamian history is not just an attraction for visitors, but also for the Bahamian diaspora.
Our programming and outreach has sort of had to be reimagined since COVID-19. We have been putting a lot more in the social media sphere. So if you follow us on Facebook, like us and share, that can help with the exposure. As we open back up after the pandemic, we have been reimagining our programming, and we are hoping to develop more opportunities, not just for the international travelers, our domestic vacationers, Long Islanders in the diaspora, and our young people. So the youth are a very important part of what we see with our programming and our exhibitions.
So this here is our Homestead area, and everything that you see in here is a part of Long Island's history, from the wampers, recycled car tires here on the floor. Those were your footwear for going into the fields to protect your feet. So now going into Sandy's or the mall, picking up a pair of shoes, you had to create your own. Here on Long Island, we didn't get electricity until 1992. Yes, 1992.
1992?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Those who could have afforded it, they clubbed together and bought generators. And it was cranked at the end of the day. You can barely see how to crank the generator. And from, when the head of the house went to bed, there's a kill switch. You pull that and lights out. Everyone go to bed. You would have like a lantern or a lamp within the hallway. And that's what would, lit the path to the bathroom for those who had indoor plumbing. With no electricity, kids had to go to school as well. You want your clothes neatly ironed. So once the coal would have burnt down, you would put those in the goose iron, the one with the red handle, and that's what you use to iron your clothes with. We have the smoothing iron, but that was placed over the open flame, and then you had to wipe it off and iron your clothes.
So what year, around what period will we be looking at with this setup?
So a lot of these are like the early 1900s, but The Long Island Museum tells the history of Long Island from pre-Columbian times until present day.
You will still find some old homesteads that are in use on the island. I know certain persons have preserved their outdoor kitchen. They're still using their kitchen space as a space removed from the main dwelling area. So it just depends on how much modernity has kind of impacted their households. But some families are still using the outdoor spaces.
And with the cost of living so high, with minimum wage and whatnot, you have persons who, say for instance, you want a good pot of homemade down-home soup. So they're boiling the salt beef, the ham, the beans on the open fire because, a tank of gas is like $120.
So they're still preserving and carrying on some of those ways of making it affordable. Yeah.
So we have 3 rooms. This section here is named after Bishop Donald Nolles. He's the first Bahamian bishop. We have another section that's named after Father Cornelius Ossendorf. And the other room where the canoe is just named after Canon Pfeiffer. We have our washing machine and our bathtub. So in here you would fill this up with water during the day and the sun would heat it. So there's no heaters. At the end of the day, you take your bath before it gets cold. When you're finished with the water, there's normally a banana trough close by. So you water the bananas at the same time. So nothing went to waste. This here is our wooden school bench. This was in use up until the 1960s. Anywhere from 4 to 6 children would have sat there at a time. Today, each one have their individual desk and chair, and also they take their books or their tablets or laptops. Those persons had to make use of the slate that we have here in the showcase that says toys. So you would write on that. When you're done, you wiped it off. So they have really good memories. If you wanted to learn, you had to learn. You had to put in the initiative. You just couldn't
Here we're no keeping notes.
No. Here we have a wooden canoe that was found at Lockabar Beach back in the 1990s. A piece of it was taken to England to be tested, but it was inconclusive. However, the late Dr. Gail Sanders has estimated it to be at least 500 years old.
This was only the tip of the coconut tree, but of course we have to leave some things for you to discover when you visit the museum for yourself. Terrence and I both left the museum with a deeper appreciation of Long Island's culture after being so immersed with the heritage of the island. If you're interested in viewing the museum, you can find them across your most common social media platforms. Concluding our museum tour and small wardrobe change, we set sail with the Long Island Boat Tour. We spoke to Managing Director Zoe Cartwright, who calls the experience a luxury ocean safari. Most importantly, she feels the tour offers a chance to see for yourself how important and impactful sustainable practices can be.
My name is Zoe. I'm the manager of Long Island Boat Rentals and Tours on Long Island, Bahamas. We've been at this since 2017, but we found that after COVID, it just exploded. Everybody wanted to get away from it all, and so we oblige. What we do is a private marine safari. We know that the average guest that comes to the Bahamas likes to see the sharks, they like to see the turtles, but we don't do the feeding of the sharks and the feeding of the turtles. But we can guarantee that you will see sharks and turtles. So what you see on a given day, I don't know, I can't promise, but we know there are conchs out there, starfish out there, sharks out there, turtles out there. So you get to see all of everything in their natural environment, doing their own thing.
We feel the snakes. This is what we call the snakes. Snakes is only out what we call it because of the movement of the channel. How the channel was created, it was created back in the day by Diamond Crystal, a salt mining company. Now us fishermen, commercial fishermen, charter companies, captains, we use this channel to get straight out Conch Point, fastest way. You don't have to worry about weather. You can see a lot of type of environmental animals. You can see stingrays, eagle rays, manta rays. You can see bottleheads, nurse sharks, lemon sharks. They're all coming in this grounds too.
Yeah, they're on a key that is many hundreds of acres, and they're free to roam. So on any given day, we also cannot guarantee how many pigs we will have on the beach. We feed them every day, which encourages them. They're pigs, they like to eat. Encourages them to come out every day, but sometimes you might see 3 or 4. Other days you'll have 10 or 13 pigs. They also are able to then to feed on their own, and there's a big pond in the middle so that they wallow in their mud and then they're happy pigs, and then they live their best life on the beach. We've connected with the Perry Institute of Marine Science. They came down here with a team. They implemented coral restoration domes in 3 different locations for us to carry guests out, where they're basically metal rebar domes that have coral that they were able to, they had permits and everything from the government to affix on the domes. And then we're able to have guests come back repeatedly if they'd like, adopt a coral if they really want to, and see the corals grow on the domes. And then the hopes are that eventually we can then reestablish some of the corals as they get better into areas where corals have died away, they've suffered from bleaching, and replenish the reefs. It's all about sustainability for us. We wouldn't have what we have out there if we don't maintain it and make sure that the waters are there for future generations. And so what we try to do is simply share it with guests and try to be as unintrusive as possible. Let all the marine life just be how it's meant to be, wild and true. I like to say, sorry to your cameraman, but pictures do it no justice. That you really have to see it for yourself to experience it. The wind in your hair, the smell of the sea, the watching of the eagle rays just move about the boat and do their own thing freely. That's what it's all about. That you can't take a single picture and feel all the different shades of blue, of turquoise. Like it's mesmerizing, but you have to see it for yourself.
As a first-time visit to Long Island, this trip was one for the books. We couldn't have wrapped up our trip in a better way, ending the evening at Vantage Point, a family-owned restaurant that truly treated us like family. The mutton and lobster salad was spectacular, and the sunset was the perfect way to conclude an adventurous stay.